Mercy. I know you can't see me, but I really felt like I needed to get this video out. The title of this video is Common Sense Will Keep You Stuck. Yes, I know a lot of people from my generation kind of were programmed to have common sense, right? Common. I want you to think about what the word common means. Okay, that means the norm, the societal norm, the people around you, what you are used to, your immediate environment, your city that you live in. It doesn't expand from there. So it keeps you in a box. Common sense is only common for where you come from, right? So here's the deal. Not only is that part of the issue, but when someone says, oh, you need to have common sense, or where's your common sense? They're literally saying, we expected you to know without instruction, without confirmation. We expected you to just know this information and be able to execute. Okay? Now that's different from critical thinking. The expectation to just know or guess or figure it out, right, is different from critical thinking. So I wanted to talk to you especially about people who have kids and what you're teaching them when it comes to common sense. I feel like we need to change the terminology to use your critical thinking, ask questions instead of where's your common sense, right? Because when you ask someone where their common sense is, not only are you saying that you expect them to know and execute, but you're expecting them to do this without any information or confirmation. And then when they do execute, something may be messed up. Something may get messed up, and you're going to blame them because of their lack of common sense. It creates a whole negative, constrictive situation. Okay. Personally, I like to teach my kids in a real world way and use moments that are naturally happening, organically happening, to say, okay, stop. Did you notice that? Are you paying attention? Are you aware right now of what just happened? And if they are not, I bring it to their attention. This, and this just happened, and this is what it means. And this is what you do from here. This is what you do with that. Um, there are many, many distractions happening in the world, and the phones and the electronics and the way the internet is. Kids are not spending hours outside in nature, growing their senses and having that peace and space to become aware of their surroundings and things like that. Okay, that's no longer happening anymore. So the natural learning and the natural gaining of these senses and strengthening these senses and the awareness is not part of our societies for the most part, especially the people who live in cities. So we cannot expect them to have what we call common sense, which is just an educated guess. Most of them are not even educated. They're just having the guess in fight or flight mode because you have an expectation and you just want them to know something that you feel like they should know. And here's the deal. Even if you taught them, even if you showed them, come on, parents, be honest with yourself. Maybe you only showed them one time. Maybe you didn't have time because you're working, your spouse is working, you got them in all kind of activities. When you show them something, you show it to them. you don't spend the time to let them actually do it themselves and then repeat the process of talking them through it and coaching them through it, because most people don't have time to do that. So there's a lot of things that parents and people tend to just say, screw it, I'll do it myself. I'm not even going to ask the kids to do it. And it kind of handicaps them because you are their first teacher. Okay. So it's very important that you find time when you want your child to learn a life skill, especially a comprehensive understanding of it, that you first demonstrate yourself doing it. Then you have that child or person, because this is not just limited to children, anybody you're dealing with that doesn't have the knowledge you have that person demonstrate as you are observing and coaching them. And then you let some time go by, and then you come back to find out what they remember while they're demonstrating and you're coaching them, until you see that they are demonstrating it without any issues. Then that's how you will both know that you have a full, comprehensive understanding of whatever it is. This takes time. This takes undivided attention. This takes patience. And there are so many of us that don't have that because of how society is. So you're going to have to figure out what is the most important, because there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of depression, anxiety, all kinds of mental disorders that come from just this one thing. We got a lot of things that jack us up and cause trauma, and I'm just addressing this one thing because it makes a person feel stupid. It makes a person feel inadequate and all kinds of stuff. When you look at them and you're condescending and you're saying, hey, where's your common sense? You should know this. You know, you don't want to be constrictive, you want to be expansive. So if you see that you've asked someone or a child to do something, right? And maybe some of the elements of that process are missing, you cannot expect that child to just figure out what's missing, put it there, and execute. So instead of reacting if that child didn't get it done, or getting upset with them because when you find out it wasn't done, you say, well, why didn't you just use your common sense and figure it out and get it done? It's because they did not fully integrate the comprehensive understanding of the process the first time you showed them. Okay. Um, so they weren't going to remember those missing elements. They may have understood the concept, but they didn't understand what happens when there's missing elements to the process. And this could be as simple as, hey, I need you to go and start a load of clothes. Only wash the color clothes with cold water, right? You didn't tell them how much laundry detergent to use. You didn't tell them what settings to put the washing machine on. And you expected them to remember from that one time you showed them. So then you show up and you see that they wash the colored clothes on, like, permanent press or whatever. And then you go and get upset with them because you showed them and you told them, but you did not make sure that they understood fully and that they could execute and demonstrate fully, because you didn't really have time to repeatedly do this and have them repeatedly show you until you were confident of their skill level. So then it creates this vicious cycle of, you never do anything right, or I can't rely on you, or I can't expect you to have common sense, right? And we've got to unravel that. The best approach to flip this into an expansive, positive energy is to, again, sacrifice some things if you have to. Instead of watching TV like you normally do, we're going to learn a skill. We're going to have undivided attention. We're not going to have any distractions, because if you need the people around you to be helpful to where you don't have to think about it, you're going to have to train them just like you may have been trained at your job. You may have been trained in your career. You get tested for your proficiency. You have to do the same thing at home in order to feel confident and secure in other people's abilities to handle things when you need to delegate. Okay? So, no distractions, undivided attention. Speak to that person at their level. We're not talking down to people, right? Ask questions to see what they understand and encourage them to ask questions. And if you need to repeat something, be happy to repeat it. Be happy to change the way you're demonstrating it, because not everybody learns the same. Take the time. And once you have confirmed over a few days, because from the initial time that you teach it and demonstrate it, and then they demonstrate it, you're going to have to take a break where they're not thinking about it at all and come back to see what they remember. Because then you'll only have to go over the parts that they don't remember. Have them demonstrate it again. Leave it alone. Come back to it another day. Okay, what do you remember? When they demonstrated, if they pass with flying colors, then you know that they fully understand. And it's not enough to just do actions. You need to understand why you're doing them and why they're so important. Your kids, people around you need to understand that they're helping you, that this is benefiting everybody, that they're helping themselves, that this is a life skill that they're not going to just use at home. They can use this skill everywhere else. You know, it needs to be comprehensive. It needs to cover all of the bases, not just do this because I told you to do it. You see? They need to know the point, the reason, the motive. Okay? So here's where critical thinking comes in. When you're teaching anybody how to think critically, what you're doing is you're simply allowing them to demonstrate what they know, and you're pointing out the parts that they are missing. And instead of just telling them the answer, you're giving them clues so that they can formulate the answer in their mind, because they're the ones that have to remember, not you. And you've got to trigger the brain to be able to find, to seek the information. Their brain, not yours. So if someone that you taught how to file paperwork, if you taught them how to file paperwork a certain way, alphabetical order, blue, green, yellow, and then only use the top drawer, right? Well, what if they forgot the color system? What if they mixed in blue, green, and yellow for each individual file instead of groups of files? Well, if they forgot that, you're not going to just tell them, no, this is how I want it. Groups of blue, greens, and yellows, not individual file, blue, green, yellow, blue, green, yellow. No, you're not going to say that. You're going to say, hey, you did a great job at the alphabetical order part and remembering to put it in the top drawer. However, there is a problem here, and I want to know if you notice it, because they may think in their mind that the way that they did the color coding was exactly how they were taught, and they're probably not going to know what you're talking about. So then you're going to zoom in a little further and you're going to say, hey, so the color, the problem has to do with the color system. And they're going to say, I have it blue, green, yellow, just like you told me. And you're going to say, but does it look like when I did it? Like, think back when I did it. You're right, you do have it blue, green, yellow, like I told you. But I want you to think about when I did it. Try to pull that visual up. And I want you to tell me what the difference is. And most likely, they will have a light bulb moment and they will be like, oh my goodness, okay, wow. Okay, it needs to be groups of blue, green, yellow, and not individual files that are blue, green, yellow in a pattern. And they will correct themselves. You're not even needing to correct them or get into some situation where, again, you are making them feel like they were just a waste of time. Just put it like that. Because they were, in essence, correct for the way that their brain works. But they made a change to the instruction that you gave them because that's what their brain does. And all you need to do is bring them back so that they can make the correction. This is empowering. This makes them want to continue to work with you and assist you and learn from you because you have the patience, you have the time, and you allow them to make the corrections on their own. That is critical thinking. Okay? You're not giving them the answer or getting upset when they don't know what's going on. Okay? And with your kids, a great way to practice critical thinking is to create problems and have them solve them. Real life problems. Okay? So you could literally remove the vacuum cleaner from your house. Okay? Just put it outside somewhere where it doesn't belong. Okay? And you can create a question and you can have the kids figure it out. So you could say, hey, if I need to vacuum the floor and I cannot find the vacuum cleaner, what should I do? One of the first answers the kids are going to come up with is go look for it. That's one good answer. Okay, what else could I do? Because we're not taking action right now. We're thinking critically. What else could I do if I need to vacuum the floor and there's no vacuum? Then they start to think outside of the box. Call grandma, see if you can borrow hers, right? But you physically need to remove the vacuum because if they can see it, if they know where it is and they're confident of where it is, they won't be triggered to think outside of the box because in reality, they can see that vacuum there. But if you remove it from the place that it's usually at and you really create the real reality, like, oh, the vacuum's gone. So they'll think outside of the box easier. And you say, okay, let's keep this going. It becomes fun, it becomes expansive. What else could we do? We could look for it, we could call and borrow grandma's vacuum. What else could we possibly do? We could probably go to a store and rent a vacuum because we're missing our vacuum. We could, you know, so one person may say we would just won't sweep the floor. We won't vacuum. Any answer is a good answer because you're trying to get them to think outside of the box and just to think, period, right? It trains their brain to understand that there's a million ways to do one thing. We could hire a maid service and they could come and vacuum and do a whole bunch of other stuff. You know, um, you want to expand the mind and get people used to expanding their mind of the possibilities. They could come up with something like, oh, well, you can get on Google and find out how to clean your carpet without a vacuum. You could watch a YouTube video on how to get the carpet clean if you don't have a vacuum. It could get far over something as basic as, okay, the vacuum cleaner is missing. That is how you want to get your brain going or get their brain going. Um, Again, this is an expansive, empowering thing. It's not constrictive, condescending, and demeaning, right? So I want you guys to think about what I'm telling you and apply it with your kids, with the people around you that you need help from, when you need cooperation and things like that. When you expect someone to consistently do a task that you need done, I want you to think about this. Okay? Think about all that I said. If you have to listen to this video again, listen to it, because I know that I said a lot and it was a lot of information, and I was trying to give you a visual, and sometimes you may not get that visual right away. You can apply this to everywhere. I am a military veteran. This is where I learned it from. We're not always yelling at each other, saying move, move, move. When we are trained in a comprehensive way with confirmation of our skill set. Okay. So this can be helpful, and you can avoid so many fights, arguments, and later mental trauma and emotional trauma when you speak to the person as if they are the manager just like you. They're important, and what you're asking them to do is important, and you feel like they are capable of doing it. That's why you're training them. That's why you're showing them. You see? And they need to actually know that. We come from a generation, a lot of us, um, from my generation, we were seen but not heard. Our opinion didn't matter. We were not talking about our feelings. We got in trouble for having feelings. So now we want to change that. We want to be able to speak to each other without the harshness, without taking things personal, right? So this is why I say common sense will keep you stuck, because it's only useful for manipulative people who want you to guess and not confirm and not they don't want you to confirm what you know. They don't want to give you any further information, and they want to keep you in this cycle of feeling like you don't know what you need to do. Maybe they need to be needed, so they give you minimal amount of information, and let's say something changed, there's new information that you needed but they didn't tell you, and they got you doing the same old task, and you do it the wrong way because there's new information. They're not going to care because they're feeding off of your energy. They have an expectation for you to mess up because it makes them feel better because they know the new information and you don't. And to some extent in the workplace or even at home, that person is literally doing that on purpose. They will expect you to know and execute, and they will literally ask you to do it just to see you fail, just so they can get on your case about what you don't know and how you didn't do it right, instead of maybe giving you the new information that you needed, or initially confirming your skill set to begin with, and making sure you understood what they understood. They're not going to go through all of that. Those people don't talk very much. They don't communicate very much. You can point these people out that do that. And when they're giving you instruction, they're not thorough. They go over stuff, and they leave out words. Sometimes they don't even finish whole sentences. Okay? They're too busy needing to hold that trophy for being the best or being better at or smarter than. Okay? So when they show you something, they're not good teachers. because they don't really want you to learn, because they don't want you to know more than them or do it better than them. There's that fear. And here's the compassionate part. Most of the time they're not aware that they're even doing this. So this is not your free pass to try to make somebody aware that they're doing it. You will only make the situation worse. This is for you. If you're experiencing someone expecting you to have common sense and then they're always shutting you down, what you need to do is just be aware of it. And maybe if you're not a child that has to obey a parent, just, or if you're not at work and having to do whatever the boss says, choose not to do it when they ask you to. Say no. And that's it. You know that every time you do a task for this person, they tell you that you're not doing it right, or they get on your case and make you feel bad, right? Now, for those of you who are dealing with parents and bosses to where you have to do what they say to a certain extent, right? You're going to have to speak up for yourself. You're the one that's going to have to ask questions. If they tell you to do something that they've already trained you or showed you how to do, let them know, hey, I know you showed me how to do this, but can you refresh me before I do it, because I don't want to mess up? You're going to get one or two responses. You're going to get, oh, all right, sure. That's how you're going to know that person really wants you to succeed. But somebody else may say, why would I need to show you again? Were you not paying attention the first time? Or, no, I'm not finna show you again. You know how to do this. You demonstrated it. So just do it. Even though you're telling them you're not remembering whatever. You see what I mean? Don't sit there and be silent, because then you're contributing to the situation. It's very important that even as a child, if there's anybody listening to this that's not the legal age of 18, even as a child, you can speak up. You don't have to be disrespectful. You can just say, hey, mom, hey, dad, I know you just asked me to do this, but it's been a while since I've done it, and I don't remember some of the steps. Can you tell me, or can you show me? They may be frustrated and say, oh, screw it, I'll do it myself. But it's up to you to get them to show you again at some point when they have time. Come to them, hey, you didn't have time the other day, but you're just chilling now. So can you show me? Because I still want to know. That way, next time you ask me to do it, I can execute and you don't have to do it for me, because I know the reason why you're asking me to do it is because you didn't have the time or energy to do it. And I don't want this to keep happening. You're going to have to say that. And I'm talking to older children, of course, right? The younger kids, they just gonna have to deal with it until I don't know what to tell them, right? But I hope this helped some people, because your awareness is everything. And don't ever be afraid. There is no dumb question. Get used to asking questions. Get used to expanding your mind to multiple solutions. Okay? Thinking critically doesn't have to be bad. It can be fun. It's using both parts of your brain, because sometimes you got to get creative even in a logical situation. Okay? But yeah, you guys have a beautiful day, and thank you so much for watching, sharing, subscribing. I'll talk to you soon.